The cuffs snapped tight around Fire Chief John Callahan's wrists, the cold metal biting into his skin as the deputy sneered, "Turn around, hero. You're under arrest." In the fading autumn light of Maplewood, Pennsylvania, a small-town misunderstanding was about to ignite a firestorm. Jack, a 35-year veteran of the Philadelphia Fire Department, stood calm, his old firefighter jacket marked with the scars of countless blazes. He'd come to buy a gift for his father, a firefighter tribute to honor a lifetime of service. But now accused of being a fraud, Jack faced a crowd of whispers and a shop owner's scorn. What they didn't know was that a viral video, a fierce chief, and a nation's outrage were about to turn this quiet moment into a blazing reckoning. Stay with us as one man's honor fights to shine through the smoke. Welcome to the Firefighter Tribute channel. Before we dive deeper into this story, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Where are you tuning in from? Share your thoughts or a story about the firefighters who've touched your life. If these stories resonate with you, hit that subscribe button to support the channel and join us in celebrating the inspiring tales of firefighters everywhere. The autumn sun hung low over Maplewood, Pennsylvania, painting the rolling hills in shades of amber and gold. Leaves drifted lazily to the ground, crunching under the tires of an old pickup truck as it pulled into the gravel lot outside Dorsey's Keepsakes. Behind the wheel sat John Callahan, known to everyone as Jack, a 58-year-old fire chief with the Philadelphia Fire Department. 35 years of running into burning buildings had carved lines into his face, and a few scars marked his hands, each one a story of lives saved or lost. Today, though, he wasn't wearing his chief's badge or his turnout gear. Just an old fire department jacket faded from years of wear, and a baseball cap with the Philly FD logo stitched on it. He was in Maplewood to buy a gift for his father, Walter, a retired firefighter turning 85 tomorrow. Jack wanted something special, a pocket watch, maybe something he could engrave with a message to honor the old man's legacy. Jack stepped out of the truck, his boots scuffing the gravel. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. He glanced at the shop, a squat brick building with a faded sign that read, "Dorsey's Keepsakes Gifts for Every Occasion." The bell above the door jingled as he stepped inside, and the smell of dust and old coffee hit him. Racks of postcards, keychains, and cheap trinkets lined the walls. Behind the counter stood Frank Dorsey, 50, a wiry man with a gray buzz cut and a scowl that seemed permanent. His eyes flicked up from a newspaper, sizing Jack up like he was trouble on two legs. "Can I help you?" Frank's voice was sharp, already laced with suspicion. Jack offered a polite nod, his voice steady. "Just looking for a gift? Maybe a pocket watch or something nice for my dad's birthday." Frank snorted, folding his arms. "You don't look like the gift-buying type. What's your deal? You one of those guys who comes in here pretending to be something you ain't?" Jack's jaw tightened, but he kept his cool. He'd faced worse than a grumpy shop owner, collapsing roofs, screaming families trapped in flames, the weight of decisions that meant life or death. "I'm just here to shop, sir," he said, his tone calm but firm. Frank leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Yeah, right. I know your kind. Always strutting around, acting like you own the place. That jacket, Philadelphia Fire Department. You a firefighter or something?" Jack hesitated. He didn't like flaunting his service, especially not to someone like Frank, who seemed to have a chip on his shoulder the size of a fire truck. "I'm a fire chief," he said simply. "Been with Philly FD for 35 years. Frank laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "A fire chief. Don't make me laugh. You look like you're just playing dress up in that old jacket. Those guys are the real deal, running into fires, saving lives. You look like you're just passing through, causing trouble." The bell jingled again, and Ellie Harper, a 30-year-old freelance reporter for the Maplewood Chronicle, stepped inside. She had sharp brown eyes and a phone always ready to record. She caught the tail end of Frank's jab and raised an eyebrow, lingering near a rack of keychains, pretending to browse. Jack reached into his back pocket, pulling out his fire department ID. "Here's my identification. I'm just here to buy something, okay?" Frank snatched the ID, barely glancing at it before tossing it onto the counter like it was junk. "This looks fake. You think you can fool me with some photocopied nonsense? I've seen enough of you people coming through here stirring up trouble." Jack's voice stayed low, but there was steel in it now. "That's an official ID, sir. You might want to take another look." Ellie's fingers hovered over her phone. She hit record, keeping the device low. Something told her this wasn't just a petty argument. Frank leaned over the counter, his face red. "Don't tell me what to do in my own store. You're acting suspicious and I don't like it. I'm calling the cops." Jack's eyes narrowed. "There's no need for that. I'm not causing any trouble." "Too late," Frank said, grabbing the phone on the counter and dialing, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Yeah, sheriff's office. Got a guy in here acting real sketchy. Looks like he's up to no good. You better send someone quick." Ellie's heart sank. She'd seen this before, small-town folks jumping to conclusions, especially when someone didn't fit their idea of normal. Jack didn't move, his hands visible, his posture calm but alert, like he'd been trained for moments like this. He'd faced firestorms after all, and a shop owner's temper wasn't going to rattle him. But as minutes passed, tires crunched outside, and red and blue lights flashed through the shop's grimy windows. Two deputies burst in. Mike Brennan, a burly man in his 40s with a crew cut, and Tim Walsh, younger, leaner, with a smirk that screamed trouble. Brennan's hand was already on his holster. "All right, what's going on here?" He barked, his eyes locking onto Jack. Frank pointed. "This guy's causing a scene. Says he's some big-shot fire chief, but I don't buy it. Check his ID. It's probably fake." Jack raised his hands slowly, palms open. "Officers, I'm John Callahan, fire chief with the Philadelphia Fire Department. My ID's on the counter. I'm just trying to buy a gift." Walsh snorted, picking up the ID and giving it a quick glance. "Fire chief, huh? You expect us to believe that you look like you're just passing through, stirring up trouble." Brennan stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "Let's see your driver's license." "Now." Jack reached for his wallet, moving slowly. "It's right here along with my department credentials. I'm on personal time heading to see my dad after this." Brennan barely looked at the papers before tossing them back onto the counter. "These don't mean nothing. You could have printed these off the internet for all we know." Ellie's jaw dropped. She stepped forward, her phone still recording. "Excuse me, officers. I'm a reporter with the Maplewood Chronicle. That ID looks legitimate to me. Maybe you should verify it before jumping to conclusions." Brennan shot her a glare. "Stay out of this, ma'am. This doesn't concern you." Jack's voice cut through the tension, steady as ever. "I'm asking you to call the Philadelphia Fire Department. Contact Chief Margaret Sullivan. She'll confirm who I am." Walsh laughed, folding his arms. "You hear this guy, thinks he's got a direct line to some fire chief. Turn around, hands behind your back." Jack didn't budge. "Sir, you're making a mistake. I'm not resisting, but I'm not going anywhere until you verify my identity." Brennan's face darkened. "That's it. You're under arrest for obstruction." Before Jack could respond, Walsh grabbed his arm, twisting it hard. Jack tensed but didn't fight back, his training kicking in. He knew struggling would only make things worse. The cuffs clicked shut, cold metal biting into his wrists. A small crowd had gathered outside, locals, a few tourists, even an old man in a faded fire department cap, watching in stunned silence. Ellie's voice rose sharp and clear. "You're detaining a fire chief without cause. I'm recording this, and it's going live right now." She hit the button, a live stream capturing every moment. The video feed showed Jack calm, but cuffed, his ID ignored on the counter, and the deputies' aggressive stances. Comments started pouring in. Veterans, locals, strangers all outraged. Inside, Frank smirked, arms crossed. That's what you get for acting like you're better than us. Jack's eyes met Frank's, unflinching. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I just want to do my job and honor the people who matter. The old man outside, Henry Russo, a 70-year-old retired firefighter, pushed through the crowd, his voice shaky but firm. Let that man go. He's one of ours. I served with his dad, Walter Callahan, back in the day. I know a firefighter when I see one. Brennan ignored him, shoving Jack toward the door. Let's go, tough guy. Jack's phone, still on the counter, buzzed loudly. The screen lit up with Chief Sullivan's name. Ellie grabbed it before Frank could holding it up. Officers, this is Chief Margaret Sullivan from Philly FD. You need to answer this. Walsh hesitated, but Brennan snatched the phone, his face sour. What? Chief Sullivan's voice boomed through the speaker. This is Chief Margaret Sullivan, Philadelphia Fire Department. You are detaining Fire Chief John Callahan, a 35-year veteran under my command. Release him immediately and stand by for further instructions. Brennan's face paled, but he tried to save face. We didn't know, ma'am. He was acting suspicious. Sullivan's voice was ice. You had his credentials in your hands. You chose not to check. Release him now. The crowd outside was growing, phones out, recording everything. Ellie's live stream was blowing up with thousands of views in minutes. Henry Russo started chanting, "Free the Chief." Others joined in, their voices rising. Walsh fumbled with his keys, unlocking the cuffs with a scowl. Brennan muttered something under his breath, avoiding Jack's gaze. Jack rubbed his wrists, his expression unreadable. He picked up his phone, the screen now cracked, and spoke calmly. Chief, I'm secure, awaiting orders. Sullivan's voice softened slightly. Stay where you are, Jack. We're coming to you. Within minutes, the roar of engines filled the air. 3 black SUVs screeched into the parking lot, their doors flying open. Chief Margaret Sullivan, 60, stepped out, her uniform crisp, her eyes blazing. A team of firefighters and federal investigators flanked her, their presence commanding silence. The crowd parted as Sullivan strode toward Jack. Chief Callahan, are you harmed? Sullivan's voice carried across the lot. Jack shook his head. No, ma'am, just a misunderstanding. Sullivan turned to the deputies, her face like stone. You are ordered to stand down. This incident is now under federal investigation. Any further actions will be considered obstruction of justice. Brennan stammered. We didn't know he was Sullivan, cut him off. You had his credentials. You chose to ignore them. That choice has consequences. Frank, still standing by the door, shifted uncomfortably. I was just protecting my store, okay? This guy looked. Sullivan's gaze silenced him. You saw a man in an old jacket and made assumptions. Those assumptions have cost you more than you realize. The firefighters formed a protective circle around Jack, escorting him to one of the SUVs. Ellie followed, still, recording, her voice steady as she narrated, This is Fire Chief John Callahan, wrongfully detained in Maplewood, Pennsylvania. The truth is coming out. As the SUVs pulled away, Jack glanced back at the shop. Frank was retreating inside, his bravado gone. The crowd was silent now, some faces ashamed, others angry. Henry Russo saluted Jack, his hand trembling but proud. Inside the SUV, Jack sat quietly, staring out at the passing fields. Sullivan broke the silence. This goes higher, Jack. Internal review, civil liberties unit, the works. This town's about to learn what accountability looks like. Jack nodded, his voice low. They should have known better, ma'am. Sullivan's jaw tightened. They're about to. By the next morning, Ellie's video had gone viral. News channels ran it on loop, showing Jack's calm dignity against the deputies' aggression. Firefighter unions and veterans groups flooded social media with support, calling it a disgrace. Civil rights leaders labeled it a clear case of prejudice. Even the governor issued a statement calling the incident an affront to a public servant. In Maplewood, Sheriff Dan Carter faced a swarm of reporters outside his office. "We regret this incident," he mumbled, sweat beading on his forehead. The officers involved are on administrative leave pending a full investigation. A young reporter emboldened by Ellie's work pressed him. "Sheriff, how could your deputies ignore an official fire department ID? Was bias a factor in this?" Carter fumbled, muttering about protocol and high tensions. But the crowd wasn't buying it. The department was cornered, their excuses falling flat. Meanwhile, at the Philadelphia Fire Department, Jack was back in his chief's uniform, preparing for his final shift before retirement. Chief Sullivan pulled him aside. "You did the right thing, Jack. You kept your head and your honor. That's what makes you one of us." Jack nodded, his voice steady. "I didn't do it for me, ma'am. I did it for the ones we lost." Sullivan placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know. And they'd be proud." The news kept spreading. Anonymous sources leaked that deputies Brennan and Walsh had a history of complaints, excessive force, biased stops, all swept under the rug. Not this time. The Department of Justice opened an investigation, and civil rights lawyers filed complaints on Jack's behalf. Maplewood wasn't just a dot on the map anymore. It was a flashpoint. A week later, Jack stood at a podium outside the Philly FD headquarters, his dress uniform gleaming under the midday sun. Cameras lined up, microphones piled high. Reporters whispered, their phones buzzing with updates. Jack hadn't wanted the spotlight, but Sullivan had been clear. "Your voice matters, Jack. Use it." He stepped to the mic, his gaze steady. "I'm Fire Chief John Callahan, Philadelphia Fire Department. For 35 years, I've served this city, running into fires, pulling people out, and burying friends who didn't make it. My job is to protect and honor those we serve. But a week ago in Maplewood, that honor was questioned, not because of my actions, but because of what someone thought I was." He paused, letting the words sink in. The crowd, firefighters, families, students with handmade signs, hung on every word. "I was judged by my appearance, not my service. I was cuffed, dismissed, and disrespected. But I'm not here for pity. I'm here because silence isn't an option, respect isn't negotiable, and honor isn't something you can take away." The reporters scribbled furiously, but Jack wasn't speaking to them. He was speaking to the kid watching at home, the firefighter feeling forgotten, the person who'd been judged unfairly. "We fight fires because people matter. We carry the weight of those we couldn't save, the brothers and sisters who ran in and never came out. Their families live with that pain every day. If we can't respect the living, how can we honor the fallen?" He stepped back, the applause starting small but growing loud. A wave of sound that drowned out the camera's clicks. Ellie in the crowd smiled, her article already drafted, ready to tell the world about a chief who stood tall. Later that day, Jack drove to the nursing home where his father Walter lived. He carried the pocket watch, now engraved with the words, "Honor Forever." Walter, frail but sharp, took the watch in trembling hands. "You did good, Jack," he said, his voice a whisper. "You made us proud." Jack smiled, his eyes misty. "Thanks, Dad. This one's for you." As the autumn sun dipped below the Philadelphia skyline, Fire Chief John Callahan stood before the fire department's memorial wall, its stone etched with the names of fallen firefighters. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain and the rustle of falling leaves. Jack's fingers brushed the name of Tommy Malone, a friend lost in a warehouse blaze back in '95. The memory still heavy in his chest. 35 years of running into flames, pulling people from the jaws of death, and carrying the weight of those he couldn't save, had led him here to his final shift before retirement. The pocket watch he'd given his father Walter, inscribed with "Honor Forever," rested in his pocket, a quiet reminder of why he'd fought not just the fires, but the prejudice, the doubt, the cuffs that had tried to bind his spirit in Maplewood. Jack turned to face the young firefighters gathered nearby, their faces a mix of awe and resolve. He wasn't one for speeches, but the words came steady from a place deep within. "We don't do this job for medals or headlines," he said, his voice low but clear. "We do it for the people who need us, for the ones who never make it home, and for their families who carry the loss. Every fire we fight, every life we touch is a tribute to those who gave everything. Honor isn't in what you wear or how you look, it's in what you do when the world tells you to back down. Never let anyone take that from you." The crowd was silent save for the soft patter of rain on the pavement. A young recruit wiped her eyes and an older firefighter nodded, his own scars a mirror to Jack's. Beyond them, the city hummed, unaware of the quiet heroism that held it together. Ellie Harper stood at the edge, her phone now, still her story about Jack, already spreading a beacon for those who'd felt invisible. The viral video, the news cycles, the investigations, they'd all fade, but what Jack stood for wouldn't. It lived in the courage of those who ran toward danger, in the memory of the fallen, in the love of a father and son bound by duty. As Jack took his final steps into the firehouse, the rain fell harder, washing the day clean. He glanced back at the memorial, at the names that had shaped him, and whispered, "For you." The world might forget the fights, the losses, the quiet moments of bravery, but Jack never would. And as he walked on, his boots steady on the wet ground, he carried their legacy forward, a firefighter's honor unbroken, a light that no darkness could extinguish.